There, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new around here, well, my name is Mac and I'm a leadership and team building coach, but I work specifically with first-time team managers. So a couple of months ago, I think it was like late September or so, I told you that I would be starting an Ask Mac series where I would be answering some of your questions on my YouTube channel. And so obviously when I floated that idea, I got a lot of questions from you guys. Thank you very much. But I can't obviously, answer all the questions. So what I've decided to do is kind of bucket them into themes because some of the questions were very, very specific and others were like they were specific, but not so specific that it wouldn't help a multitude of people. And so what I've decided to do is answer those questions because I obviously want this YouTube channel to help as many people as possible, right? So that's what I'm going to be considering today. I have my list here of, I think, 6 or 7 questions that I think will help a multitude is basically what I'm trying to say. So the first question that I have is around confidence, which comes up often. Like I've been getting questions around confidence since I started this channel, so I'm not surprised to see it. So it says here, "Hi Mac, I just started my position as manager." Congratulations, by the way. So I just started my position as manager of a small team of 5 about 3 months ago, and I am really, really struggling with my confidence. What tips do you have around leading my team with confidence? So I have 2 things to say about this one. Number 1 is that language matters. So I want you to watch your language because it does matter. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. So a couple of weeks ago, on one of our Q&A coaching sessions that I have with my accelerator students, shout out to the best freaking students in the world, by the way. But yeah, one of our accelerator students came to the coaching consulting session, and she wanted my help with a very sticky situation. And it was really sticky. It was a really weird situation. And she wanted my help with this. But as she was kind of introducing this sticky situation, she prefaced what she had to say by saying first, she said, "Listen, I know I'm a baby manager, but XYZ is happening." She started off her sentence by saying, "I know I'm a baby manager, but." Now, of course, I let her talk because I don't love interrupting people, and I let her get out, the sticky situation. And one of the first things I had to deal with was, of course, the whole, "I know I'm a baby manager, but." Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, Mac, is that really that big of a deal? And my answer is yes. It's a big deal because the words that we say are not neutral. Our words have thought, meaning, and emotion. And so what she's doing when she says, "I'm a baby manager, but," is she's letting the entire group know that she is insecure and feeling underconfident. Now, I am not against people being vulnerable and sharing how they feel, but there's also a way to do that when it doesn't put you down, right? Because the truth of the matter is that, yeah, she's absolutely right that she's new to the role, but she's not a baby manager. In fact, I think it's strength on her part to know that the expectation of the role is here for her and that she's here. And what she did was she sought out an expert to help her get to here. To me, there's nothing baby about that. In fact, that's a lot of strength that a lot of people do not do. So I wanted to make her take that out of her mind right away and acknowledge that, yes, while she's new at something, that doesn't make her less than, right? It doesn't make her less than in any way. And that the better way to introduce any situation is to simply say, "Listen, I've never dealt with this before. Here's what's happening. What can I do?" That's a much better way of framing something than to first kind of let everybody know that you feel like you're not good enough. Because like I said, our words matter. It carries meaning. So I want you to watch the words that you're saying because that will definitely affect your confidence. The second thing I want to say about this is that confidence is really just a very simple equation, okay? And the best way that I've ever heard it articulated was actually at a leadership conference that I went to in, I think it was May. Yeah, I went to a 3-day leadership conference in May, and the speaker articulated confidence in a very, very simplistic way, and I want to share that with you. She said, okay, that confidence is built with competence and small action. So the equation is competence plus small action equals confidence. And she's absolutely right, right? Because when you develop your competence in something and then you execute on that competence or what you've learned, you can then see that you've done something or see that maybe something needs adjusting and you can shift or pivot. And all of a sudden, you'll see your confidence being built. So again, competence is really all about learning said skill. And then the small action is all about implementing said skill. And then you pivot based on what you learn. That's the whole point. So for you, it's the same thing. Build your skills, learn the skills required, right? So because right now you're saying, what tips do I have around leading my team with confidence? Well, if the objective is to lead your team with confidence, then you need to learn how to lead a team. That's the competence aspect. What are the skills required for leading a team? And then you take those skills and you implement. You take small action. What's the first small thing that you can do based on what you're learning that will help you to build your competence or build your confidence, I should say? Because it's as simple as that. That is really what the equation is. And that's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because I thought, like, I've never heard it said so simply before, right? We've heard the same thing in so many different ways, but it really is a simple equation, and it's one that we can all remember. And the reason why I get on this channel and talk to you guys about my story and how it was really difficult for me when I first started isn't because I'm looking for a therapy session, even though it is quite therapeutic for me to talk about, my mistakes and my issues when I first started. But it's also because I want you guys to know that I developed my confidence through a series of fears that I had to overcome. It was a series of fears that I had to overcome. It did not happen overnight for me. I know that a lot of people like to make things seem like stuff is happening overnight, right? Overnight success. We hear about that stuff all the time. But me leading a high performance team and having a culture I was proud of and being the leader that I wanted to be did not happen overnight. It was a series of action steps that I took. I invested in myself. I learned from my mistakes, and I reached out to the people that I knew could help me, and I took action on every single thing I learned, including my mistakes. That is how I was able to build my confidence in leading a successful team. So the same goes for you. And I'm going to continue to repeat my story for you guys because I do think it's really important for you to recognize that everyone starts from somewhere. We all start from ground zero. The difference between those that become successful and those that aren't is what you do, right? When you realize that you're starting from ground zero. So again, like I said, remember that equation, right? It's all about competence. Jot down the specific skills. What is the skill set gap that you are missing? And then learn, develop those skills, and then implement. Okay, so that is the first question that I got with regards to developing confidence. I hope that was helpful to you. Next. All right, so let's jump into the next question here. So question says, all right, so hey, Mac. Okay, so I'm having problems with my staff where they are gossiping constantly. We had staff sign a policy about personal conversations, and I try myself to set the example by not sharing personal things about myself, but I still tend to overhear these types of personal conversations going on in the team. What would you recommend I do? Okay, so I read this question earlier, and I have to be honest with you. I have a tiny bit of a problem with this, but I think it's because two things are being conflated here, okay? Because on one hand, you're saying that the problem is that they're gossiping. And then on the other hand, you're saying that your solution to that is for people to not share personal information about themselves, and that you're setting the example by not sharing personal information about you in order to dissuade them from gossiping. Okay, so those to me are two conflating issues. So I want to get some clarity here before we move on and before I talk about what my suggestions are, because, you guys know I always talk about the fact that clarity is power. Now, to me, harmful gossip is 100% out of the question, right? I've had previous videos in the past where I've talked about the fact that negative gossip is one of the things that will 100% derail your team. So you absolutely want to root that out. Okay, you and I are in alignment with that 100%. But I also need you to recognize that human nature is to show personal interest in others. And sometimes that personal interest is simply information sharing. Gossip or harmful gossip is always about the intent. So let me explain what I mean. If I am your team member, right, and I talk to another team member about how home life for me is really difficult, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, me sharing that with a team member might actually be good, because maybe that team member might be willing to pick up slack for me, knowing that, right now my mind isn't in the right place. That's why when managers tell me, well, I'm not here to be friends with my people, like, what's the deal? I push back, because while I understand you're not there to be friends, it's good economics to know what's going on with your people. Because what that means is you can make adjustments based on what's going on with them. Like, if I know what's going on in your personal life to a certain extent, then I know if, I need to take you off said project, because I know that project is huge and right now your head's not in the game. It's good economics to know about your people. So they need to be sharing some sort of personal information, about themselves. The same goes for you. Yes, you can have boundaries and whatnot, but I just want to make sure that you understand that sharing personal information is not bad. It's the intent behind it. So what you really need to clarify is that what you don't want on the team is negative, harmful gossip that has the intent of slandering other people, that has the intent of hurting other people, that's harming other people. That is what you don't want. But them sharing information is not a bad thing. I mean, again, teamwork happens. True teamwork and a gelling of a team happens when people trust one another. And trust happens based on personal connection. And personal connection is based on knowing each other. So if you stop people from sharing personal information, then you're stopping trust, and you're stopping like your team actually doing well. So again, I just want to clarify that I think maybe the solution that you're trying to implement isn't actually solving the real problem. And this is why I'm always talking to you guys about determining the root cause, as opposed to dealing with symptom stuff. Okay. So in this case, what you want to nip in the bud is actually harmful gossip, right? Them spreading rumors about each other, or them doing things that is harmful to others. So when it comes to that, what I recommend is being very clear about what harmful gossip is, what it looks like, what it sounds like. Okay. Because oftentimes these are habits that are ingrained in people, right? That they get from home or with friends or whatever, and they don't even recognize that they're doing it. So you want to clarify what harmful gossip looks like, what it sounds like, and why it should not have any place on the team, okay? And then hold them accountable. I do suggest, and I'll link up here for you, I do suggest you watching my accountability video to help you kind of like set the stage of how that conversation would go. But again, I just want you to be clear that it's not necessarily the sharing of personal information that is wrong. It's the sharing of harmful gossip that's wrong, okay? And that's what you want to nip in the bud. So that's all I have to say about that one, but I will link that accountability video for you here and obviously in the description box below. All right, so moving on here. Hey, Mac, I really enjoy your videos. Thank you very much. Okay, so she goes on to talk a little bit about some other things. Okay, I noticed that you talk a lot about your mentor. What's the best piece of advice that he has ever given to you? So this is a great question. And one of the reasons that I picked it is because, like I said, I feel like it'll help the masses. So you're absolutely right. I was very fortunate that within my career as a first-time manager, actually throughout my career, I had two mentors that played an incredible role in my career. In the corporate space. One of them was used to be the head of LinkedIn Canada, and the other one used to be a U.S. colonel in the Air Force. So I'm talking two heavy hitters that knew a thing or two about leadership. They led huge teams, and so I feel very honored and very privileged that they took me under their wing, both of them, at different points in my career, to really help me. And so I did learn a lot about them, and that's why I talk about them quite a bit on the channel. I think I actually conflate them and kind of make them into one mentor, but it is actually two mentors that I'm talking about. Now, there's a lot of things that they have taught me, but I think the lessons that stand out most weren't actually things that they've said, okay? It was the things that they did. Though their actions spoke louder than actually their words. Though their words are things that I quote to this day. Like if you talk to my accelerator students, they're always hearing me like quote things that they've said, but it was their actions. Those were the things that really stuck out in my mind. You know, like Brian, who was the head of LinkedIn Canada, he was relentless when it came to developing a relationship with me. Like he never really missed a one-on-one meeting with me. Like I worked for him, 2 years, maybe a year and a half. He never missed a one-on-one, never missed a one-on-one. And he was the managing partner of the company that I worked for. That says a lot, right? I mean, here we are sometimes as frontline managers. I hear frontline managers say all the time, I don't have time to have these one-on-ones. My managing partner, who was my boss, never missed a one-on-one meeting with me. And he used those one-on-one meetings in an effective way. That's where I learned how to do proper one-on-one meetings, was actually through him. He did them the way that they are supposed to. And I had a lot of development through those one-on-ones with him. So that was really good. So like I said, it was more of their actions, I feel like, that really had a strong impact on me. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's more about what you do than actually what you say. That is essentially what I'm trying to say. All right, so I'm talking so much that my camera just died on me, so I don't even know like where we were at. So I'm gonna have to like go back and start this again. So the next question is, what's your worst day as a leader? Kind of getting the feeling that you've had some really bad days and you just want to know that this is normal. And I will tell you, it is absolutely normal. In fact, I've had a lot of doozies when it comes to being a manager. I'm just going to be honest. In fact, just over the weekend, I was talking to one of my managers, so one of the managers that reported directly to me, and I was telling her, I was kind of rehashing some of the mistakes I made that I was just like, I still regret to this day. But my worst one that I will never forget is actually when one of my team members quit, and in his exit interview, he said that the reason that he quit was because I did not pay enough attention to him. And so he hightailed it out of there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like when I read that I didn't get super defensive, because I did. I went through like every excuse in the book. I was like, but I'm busy and I have this and I've got the biggest department in the company and blah. I went through it all. But then when reason kicked in, I realized exactly what he was saying. I am leaving because I do not feel seen and heard by you as my leader. And he was absolutely right. You know, when I really looked back at it, I had to admit that I didn't. And that is my responsibility as a manager, to make everyone on my team feel seen and heard. I mean, I've talked about this in another video, which I'll link here for you, but absolutely, it is my responsibility to make sure that everyone is seen and heard. And if I didn't want to do the work, then I should not have taken the position. So I really had to assess the actions that I took that led to that and promise myself not to do that again. So I actually kept the email. I sent it actually to myself personally. And I made sure that moving forward that I took much more intentional actions when it came to making sure that each member of my team was seen and heard by me. Now, did I always do it perfectly? Probably not. And so I really think that that was probably my worst day, to be quite honest, just because it was an indication that I was not doing my role properly. And it's never good, right? When you realize that you're failing as a leader. So that's definitely my worst day. Okay. So the next question I have here. So I'm not going to lie. These questions confuse me because I got like 3 of these questions around this, around entrepreneurship and being a business owner. And it kind of confused me because, you know, I'm talking to who I think are new managers. But then I was actually at a speaking event last week. And one of the speakers said that actually right now, the number one most Google phrase in America is how to start a business. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised with the Great Resignation. I think a lot of people are thinking about, starting a business or whatnot. So I see a lot, there's these 3 questions around like, how did I start? Why did I choose this? And what's been the hardest part for me when it comes to entrepreneurship? So here's what I'll say. Tell you something that I wish that someone would have told me before I jumped into it, which is that it is going to be one of the most fulfilling things that you do in your lifetime, just one. But it's also going to be one of the hardest things that you do in your lifetime, point blank. And I said one because obviously there are other things that bring a lot of fulfillment and a lot of other things that are super hard. But this is, to me, one of those top things that is super fulfilling, but super hard. So for example, it is extremely fulfilling for me to work with managers and watch them become leaders. I work with some of the best managers in the world. I really, really do. And I love them to pieces. They know that. So it's really an honor for me. I'm going to cry just talking about it. But yeah, no, I do. I really love my accelerator students and any manager that I get to work with in any capacity. But entrepreneurship is very difficult, guys. It's very difficult. And it brings out in you things that you don't even realize that you haven't dealt with. So for me, it's always been the level up that has been the hardest, that I'm never prepared for. So I'll give you an example. So earlier this year, my business coach, who, yes, I have a business coach because while I am an awesome person, I really know what I'm talking about, I should say, when it comes to leadership and leadership skills. I've never been a business owner before. So I did obviously, seek out the advice of an expert. So I have a business coach, and my business coach said to me, listen, Mac, this was at the beginning of the year. He said, Mac, I think you're ready now to really offer your services, your programs and everything, your training programs to corporations. And I said, wait, what? No, things are going just fine with the managers. Like last year, we had an amazing year with helping managers. I think I'm good. And she was like, yeah, but you can help so many more people if you get in there with the businesses and the corporations and get them to get their managers trained. Right. And I said, yeah, I understand. But, I don't know if I feel comfortable talking to CEOs and CMOs and CFOs. I don't know that I'm comfortable in that circle. It's been years since I've been in that corporate setting. I don't know. And so I kept pushing back, right? Here it is. I'm pushing back on her constantly. And she finally said to me, and this is why a coach that's worth their salt means everything. So Mac, what you're saying is that you're actually not serious about your mission. And I said, what do you mean? Of course I'm serious about your mission. And she said, or serious about my mission. And she says, well, clearly you're not, because you're telling me that you're going to let your fear of speaking with people who are honestly just like you stop you from transforming work culture through your managers. When she said that, I was like, dang, you're so right. I'm basically letting my fear, my underconfidence really, stop me from talking to people that, that are really, like she said, human beings just like me. Stop me from getting in there and offering something that I know will transform their managers, as it has for so many of my other clients. Clearly, by letting fear overtake, I was not as committed to my mission as I should have been. And so I guess I'm telling you this because, like I said, sometimes you're not even ready for that, the level ups that you're going to have to make as a business owner. And I kind of think this applies regardless of if you're an entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneur or maybe someone within a work setting, or if you're working for someone else. I think it applies. Sometimes the goals that you set for yourself or the mission that you're on is huge. And it's going to call for you to step out of your comfort zone in some major ways, but you got to be ready to just do it. And something that's really helped me is to center myself back on my vision, my mission, and my values. Every time I'm feeling scared about the next thing that I have to do in my business, I think about what's my vision, what's my mission, and what are my values. And as long as I'm in alignment with that why, then I have the push to do the thing that is super uncomfortable for me. So yeah, that's what I'll say on that one. I hope that answers the question. But yeah, for me, it has been such a journey, but it's been a hard journey because I've been through quite a few things. It's been kind of tough. Okay, so last question, because this video is getting kind of long, and I know that people don't love watching long videos on YouTube, so I'll make this short. So basically this question is, okay, I'm scared to have hard conversations with my boss. I feel like I'm not seen or taken seriously by her. What should I do? So here's the thing about this one, and honestly, the thing about life in general. No one is going to take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously. Like, that's just not going to happen. I am sorry to tell you that. And you know, as human beings, we carry around an energy with us, right? For example, have you ever talked to somebody and you can just tell that they're BSing you from what they're saying? It's their energy, because they know that they're BSing you and they recognize that they are. And so you're feeling it. But on the flip side, have you ever talked to like a really mediocre person and they're selling something like super confident? It's because they're confident in what they're saying, even though they shouldn't be, because they're mediocre. That energy. So I say this because the reason why you are feeling like you're not being taken seriously by her is most likely because you know within your own self that you're not taking yourself seriously. So my question to you is, why should she take you seriously? What have you been doing, or what have you done thus far that proves that you know what you're talking about? And if you actually truly know what you're talking about, then assertively speak to her and she will see that, feel that energy, and take you seriously. So I did have, one more question here that I just want to knock out of the gate, because this one is around coming in as a new manager to a new team when someone on the team expected to have the position, but they don't have the position. So for this one, I would recommend going to this video right here. I'll link it for you here and obviously in the description box below, where I talk about the peer to manager transition. Now, even though this person wasn't your peer, like you didn't know them, a lot of the principles and what I'm talking about in that video would apply here as well. So I don't want to talk about it because I know I've already talked about it. And I think that if you listen closely to what the objective is of what I'm talking about, then you'll be able to figure out how to address that scenario. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys, in terms of the questions that I received. Like I said, I received more questions, but these were the ones that I thought would help the majority more than just one person. So in the future, if you are going to send me a question, make sure that it's something that really can help other people and not is just that specific to you, because if it is very specific to you, then it's going to be very hard for me to consider it on this series. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I hope you have a fantastic, rest of the week, and please do not forget to keep smiling. All right, I'll talk to you soon.